So the use of a surveillance program brought to you by the intelligence community that started working with the cartels in Operation Underworld back in 1938 seems to continue to this day. All right. Speaking of set in our ways, we're going to get to the JFK assassination. I don't know. They released some documents. However, Shakespeare's line, methinks thou doth protest too much, might apply to this first Ben Shapiro story where he's like, Israel had nothing to do with JFK's murder. And we're like, we didn't ask that. Why are you telling us that they had nothing to do with the assassination of American president? And when we're talking about blackmail all the way up to today of our politicians, I mean, there might be something there. The second video comes from Julian Dorey podcast clips. Woody Harrelson's father shot JFK. That's the thumbnail description. This has been a well-known, well-circulated thing that Charles Harrelson was a gun for hire, might want to say, and he might have killed a judge and served some prison time, but might also have been with the tramps that were maybe on the bridge or the grassy knoll or someplace like that, right? I think it's interesting. It's a little speculative, but it does play into the overarching theme of this block, because the next bombshell, Mexican cartels, they've got some spyware that really messes with Americans. The Mexican cartel doesn't develop spyware. So the question is, where'd they get it from? The answer would be State of Israel, which is interesting because we have like a big war with the cartels right now. And you've got like special forces people using Israeli software combating against like our border protection and other things going on. So there's interesting little chess pieces being moved on the board that some people were playing checkers on and other people were playing Go. And that's an Asian game. It's take up as much land territory with the efficiency. So there's like a layering effect of games being played in the new big, great game that they're playing with all of our lives and future. So in an attempt to shed some light on it and move toward a point of understanding, let's go first to, let's listen to Jimmy Dore and Kurt Metzger rip up this Ben Shapiro commentary on the JFK assassination.
Ben Shapiro's at it again.
With his eyebrows?
He says, why does it matter who killed an American president? That's his. He wrote this article, and it's titled, Ben Shapiro says, why does it matter who shot JFK?
Do you have the bids for it?
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't matter who shot JFK, why not declassify all the documents then?
Yeah, not the crap ones they put out. They're real ones.
Am I right?
Yes.
I don't know why it matters. I'd like to know. They're hiding it from us, Ben.
That's right.
Why does something have to be sealed for 75 years?
If it didn't matter, they wouldn't be hiding the evidence. So that's the evidence for why it matters right there, that they're hiding the evidence.
Why do you look like that chick that got fired from the Daily Wire, and I think you are her?
So they're still using the mob at that time. They felt like, look, they tried to use... Why should it surprise us if they were trying to kill Castro with the mob, that they might want to kill Kennedy with the mob? Why is it shocking?
Yeah, it wouldn't be shocking.
Right? It's not that huge of a jump. So at some point, Ferry was at a party, and he said to people who were present, hey, look, it's tough to kill Castro. We can't pull it off. He's all the way in Cuba. We could kill Kennedy. He's right here. He said that at a party. And he also said something really interesting.
Who did he say that to?
Present were a guy named Perry Russo, who later came forward during the Jim Garrison investigation, which was Kevin Costner and Oliver Stone.
Yeah, was Clay Shaw around during
Clay Shaw was supposedly at the party, although he never admitted it, but Perry Russo did. Okay. And Ferry said it to these, there was a leftover, there was a few militant Cubans left over after the party broke up. There was Perry Russo, there was Clay Shaw, and he said, look, this is how we're going to do it. A triangulation of fire. We'll lure him we'll get him in a kill zone, and then we'll hit him with a triangulation of fire. Well, we all know triangulation means 3, right? I guess triangle. Well, we all know there's at least 2, the book depository and the grassy knoll. You can watch the Zapruder film. You can't deny it. His head went back.
Mexican cartels have the spyware that the Israeli government uses to spy on Palestinians, and now Mexico can use it on Americans. They can get into your phone. They can see everything you do, everything you search. They also can do what's called a room tap, meaning they use the phone's camera and microphone to spy on you wherever you are, putting your kid to bed, what have you. Now, the Epoch Times reported this in depth, but this is actually not brand new information. What's new is that we are at war with the cartels and how it can be used against us. So pay attention. It's called Pegasus, and it can get into your phone, even if you don't click. It's called no-click malware because you don't have to click a link to get it. And it can detect when it's draining your battery and then pause itself so you don't know that it's there. This is terrifying. Now, to be clear, absolutely clear about Pegasus, it was developed by an Israeli firm called the NSO Group, not the Israeli government themselves. Israel has never admitted to use it, but it was found on Palestinian officials' phones since at least 2021. Now, Israel never confirmed or denied that, but NSO, the software group that owns it, says that whenever they want to make a sale of their software, they have to get it approved by the Israeli Ministry of Defense.
Aspects of this are not new. For instance, they've been using surveillance to spy on journalists for a long time, not just Julian Assange, but a New York Times reporter called James Risen. And specifically, I spoke with the former technical director of the National Security Agency, Bill Binney, back in 2015, 2014. We talked about many of these surveillance programs, including Pegasus. We talked about a variety of other, there's if you want to go back in history, it kind of starts with Project Minaret, and then it goes into Shamrock and, modern day versions of Stellar Wind. But what are we looking at? British infiltration of American intelligence community in league, sometimes with the Israeli infrastructure of intelligence apparatus. Now, if we were to go back here to the Pegasus surveillance program, you can see here's the Five Eyes network that we were mentioning earlier tonight and Paul spoke about with the Carney news report. We also have the National Security Agency and the State of Israel under the topic of surveillance. And there's the NSO group, which is a pro-Zionist Israeli state, apparatus, if not formally Mossad. It could be Aman, A-M-A-N, because if we go to, this is, here's the State of Israel. Let's go over here to find A-M-A-N. I should have the, how about I just search it? Instead of looking for it and squinting at the screen. Amen. That's Military Intelligence Directorate of Israel. So we could probably give this. Oh, Robert Maxwell worked for that. That's interesting because Pegasus. Let's just add it in here and see what happens. Pegasus is a surveillance program, and Robert Maxwell sold Promise software, which was Israeli infiltrating software, backdoor type stuff used by MI6 and CIA and AMAN, the military intelligence. In fact, if Whitney Webb had to make a claim that Jeffrey Epstein worked for a group, it would be Amen, not Mossad. So let's just add Jeffrey Epstein there real quick. Now we're starting to see an intelligence blackmail software network that is has a very interesting history and also plays into the Five Eyes security network that they've been looking to build since the last will and testament of Cecil Rhodes, and then the codification of that with Between Two Ages, America in the Technotronic Era. So this is a pretty interesting little piece to bring up because you're finding out about it now because Mexican cartels got licenses for that stuff. And even those licenses are expensive, allegedly. They have a lot of money stacked in the walls of those places over there because they're drug lord kingpin type people. So the use of a surveillance program brought to you by the intelligence community that started working with the cartels in Operation Underworld back in 1938 seems to continue to this day. We still have cartels, right? There's still gangs that are prolific in narco trafficking and using intelligence agencies and BCCI type Iran-Contra enterprises to run cover, tell a very different story to the American population than what's going on. But, who knew Woody from Cheers was a natural born killer baby type dude.
Yeah, runs deep, man. It's crazy stuff.
Woody also was in a movie called Man from Toronto or something like that, where he's like a mafia interrogator, torturer type dude. So it's interesting the roles that were cast, and one of those is a JFK, Oliver Stone type of era when Stone's making The Doors, JFK, and Natural Born Killers. And there's a lot of history from the 60s that seem to be coming out in these documents. Makes you wonder.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And then, just calling back to like the whole Ben Shapiro thing where it's like, oh, who cares? Who cares who killed JFK? It's funny when you start making claims like that and that's your position publicly, and then all of a sudden, like, your whole organization collapses right from underneath you. So that was another big story this last week, right? Jeremy Boring got fired as CEO.
The God King.
The God King. Yes, I did an episode on it too, just kind of doing a victory lap around it. And I came up with this idea. We should do the dancing extremists here in Nashville, where we stand across the street from the Daily Wire building and we dance as their empire collapses. Right, the dancing. You get it? You get the reference?
Yeah,
the
dancing Israelis.
Yeah. So we'll be standing there over the rubble of Daily Wire as it continues to collapse. Because when you make claims like that and you just are so out in the open about the fact that you are running an intelligence operation for a foreign government to foment Americans go into war for your interests, then you don't get to do business anymore. Thank you.
Well, that's what JFK was trying to do when he was making the American Zionist Congress or whatever they had back in the AZN, I think it was called, before it was the AIPAC, because we're about to learn about AIPAC in the next block. It's not all roses, apparently.
Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to GrandTheftWorld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man.